Hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know this is the official podcast of GeoWoodstock 18 right here in the great Pacific Northwest. It's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific. I'm Chris of the Northwest, and we're here to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the world. So while you're grilling 77 hot dogs just to teach Joey Chestnut a thing or two, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
Oh, yeah, keeping that mustard belt real. There you go. Well, of course, it's Thursday night at 9. You're Chris. I'm Wits End, and it's time to bring in our meandering mandrill. Some say he breeds racing turtles in the Arctic Circle. And others say he created a zoom filter to look like he's wearing pants. All we know is it's called Land Monkey.
I'll tell you, I haven't had to work another day in my life after I created that filter and started selling that on the internet. Best idea since sliced bread.
I don't know. I go without the filter, and then now I just don't get invited back to Zoom meetings, and I'm okay with that too.
All right. Well, zooming right along, I am pleased to welcome back to the show, wearing his green Cashley shirt, representing it's Nick Hubbard. Welcome back, Nick.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nick is the founder and developer of Cashley and Waymarkly, and we're going to talk about those things tonight. So,
Yes,
live audience. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So that's the shirt that proves he's not using a chroma key screen.
That's true.
Right.
This would be a bad idea.
That's right. He'd need that zoom filter. All
That's right.
True.
Okay. Yeah. So, listeners, live audience, and those who are listening after the show, share your thoughts with us as well. We would love to hear your questions and your thoughts about Cashley and Waymarkly as we discuss things with Nick. Well, also something else we want to do is we want to throw out our regular reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. And a special thanks to both Land Sharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor, and our other one, Gold Country Geotourism. Hey, Land Sharks have moved to their new location.
That's exciting.
Swam down the hill, and
We have heard about this for so long. It happened.
it's finally happened. It's finally happened. They are open, so come on, visit. And in fact, they're open and looking forward to seeing you this Saturday. They haven't been open on Saturdays for a while. So if you're in the greater Victoria area, why don't you stop by and say hi? The Shark Store, if you would like to do such, is now located at 525 Head Street, Dockside. That's apparently important to know, like not on the water side.
Okay.
The street signage isn't up yet, but hey, just drive behind the Sailors Cove Marina building to the dock and park in the Sharks Store marked parking spots.
I like those directions. You know, behind this marina building, around the corner where the gas station used to be, by where they're thinking about building the bank. You can't miss it.
That's exactly right. 525 Head Street, Dockside. There you go. Hey, our other corporate Denali level sponsors, Gold Country Geotourism, they want to remind you to start planning for your travel up into Gold Country by visiting exploregoldcountry.com to learn more about the Geo Tour and the region. That's exploregoldcountry.com. But of course, right now, it's know before you go. We were just talking about this before the podcast. There are forest fires in the region, but the area is still open. There are still caches to find. There are still places you can go in Gold Country safely, but know before you go. So first of all, go check geocaching.com because the good folks from Gold Country have been disabling their Gold Country caches that are in the path of forest fires so that you're not tempted to go find something that will kill you.
It's on the map. I have to go get it.
Right? Common sense. But also make sure you check the Drive BC website because highways are closing due to these fires. Check the BC Forest Fire website. Most of all, stay safe and follow all the emergency advisories. Again, a thank you to the volunteers and the first responders, and a reminder to you, geocachers, hey, you can still visit and explore Gold Country. Do your research first. Be safe, be alert, be prepared.
Oh, Land Monkey, you're saying pretty much search the entire internet before you go anywhere in BC?
No, that is not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Then you'll never get anywhere because you'll find rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, you will.
Just like geocaching, there's just one more YouTube video. Yeah. All right. Speaking of Gold Country, also those who have heard about the town of Lytton, and I think most of us have, we talked about it quite a bit in the last podcast. I was talking with Marcy again today on the phone. And so first of all, Marcy and her family are good. They're safe. They're well. They're working hard to support the folks from the other communities, including, of course, all the folks from Lytton who've lost their homes. If you want to know more about the situation in Lytton and you want to know how you can help, Marcy and I have gathered some information. I've put it on my landmonkey.ca website on my blog. So just click on blog there, and that will take you to a bunch of information about how you can help. So there you go. All right. I think that's everything I've got for leading in intro stuff.
Hold
All right,
on.
well-
I'm posting.
Okay. While you're posting, I'm going to say you could use the hashtag Waymark in the chat tonight to add to tonight's show because we love your feedback in the chat. And of course, use the hashtag FTAS to bring up a topic in the after show.
Perfect. There you go. Thanks for posting that link, Chris.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So great link. And as you said, somebody said, a lot of people want to help and just don't know how to do it. So there are some great suggestions on your blog post there. Thanks for posting that.
Well, thank Marcy. She provided me all the info.
There you go. I was going to say thank you for getting with Marcy
Yeah.
and, learning what we can do. So, our thoughts and prayers go out to the families that, have lost everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
literally.
that town is just gone. It's amazing to think of. So, we can do what we can do. And a little bit goes a long way.
Indeed.
Okay. So that being said,
I don't think we've got one of those GLOWs tonight, and we've already run through our news. So it's time to remind folks that we have a guest.
Patiently waiting.
Thanks
Yes.
for your patience. For folks not familiar with you, I don't know who that could possibly be, Nick, but maybe there's someone who's not familiar with you. Can you share where home is and what your involvement in the geocaching community might be? Say, I don't know, any geocaching apps you're familiar with?
There's a good idea. Apps.
Yeah, I actually live in the great Pacific Northwest. I live in Washington State, so the home of geocaching. And yeah, I developed the app Cachely, so hopefully everybody's heard of it before, and a new app called Waymarkly that is for waymarking. And I also this year and part of last year worked on the Geocaching HQ Where I Go app. So I had a hand in that new release. So those are kind of the three things that I work on. So
I wasn't entirely sure about Where I Go because there's no LY at the end of it.
yeah.
Where I
I was
Regularly.
told I couldn't do that.
Okay. Oh, that's a shame. You should have done it anyway. You can just slip that in there. Maybe in the documentation somewhere that, in the
deep-
about script that nobody
Yeah.
looks at.
Deep down there, yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Nice. So the new, let's start with the new Where I Go app, or the, newish one. It's great. I've used it several times. It's much easier than the older ones, but you still do have to deal a bit with the Where I Go website, which at this point feels very aged.
The new one abstracts that all away. You shouldn't have to go to the Where I Go website. So you can search for them on the map. You can browse. You can search, by code. You can find them in many different ways, and then you can just do a direct download right from the
I
page
must have
there.
missed this step because last time I did it,
So that was one of the biggest features was you don't have to go browse and zoom in and click a little download button. It's all native now. So that and upgrading it from I think it was from iOS 10. And so the interface was very old and small on larger devices. So I worked to bring that up to kind of to speed to, I think, iOS 13. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big improvement.
Thank you. Yeah, it was obviously HQ and I worked together on it, and we both had different ideas that we came together, and I had some ideas come from my beta testers from Cachly that tested it as well. So they brought some new ideas, and so we put a lot of kind of fun things, especially the browsing of the map. It's not something that was in the previous app, so I think it's much easier to find where it goes now.
Nice. And they still play well. Now, here's a question that I always have. When you go to download, I know you don't need to, but if you were to do the website,
Yes.
which version of Where I Go, the cartridge, should you get? Should you get the Pocket PC?
Pocket PC, yeah.
Okay.
I've tested the other ones, like the Garmin ones, and I didn't see any difference. Somebody who knows the cartridge format way better than I might know the reason and what's different about them. But yeah, always choose Pocket PC is what's been recommended.
That's a good question, because that could be one that could catch you.
Yeah, and when you're downloading it through the app, you're always getting the Pocket PC version. There's no option for anything else. So
okay.
Yeah.
It's hard coded in there.
There you go.
Hard coded from the API, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Ryan says they're all the good apps.
Yeah.
And he used the Where I Go app yesterday.
So, and he says he's
wonderful.
actually in the Pacific Northwest watching this week. So welcome.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Hi. Welcome. Isn't it great here?
It's wonderful
You
here.
picked a good week to come. Last week?
Yeah,
That's
you didn't want to be here last week.
Horrible heat wave.
But this week, now you're in the air-conditioned Northwest, and it feels very nice.
Yes, and wherever you came from, go home and tell them it rained every day.
Yes, exactly.
we got a rep to keep.
That's right.
Oh, how true. Okay. Nick,
Yes.
your title says Mr. Cachly, so I think we have to talk about Cachly. Now,
Okay.
It's been a long time since you've been on, and I use Cachly regularly. That is my go-to geocaching app. I absolutely love it. One of the big recent changes, I know you're always making changes, bug fixes, and that, but one of the big ones that now you can see adventures on the map with regular geocaches. Is that the right term, or all types of geocaches? But those two games now show up together on one map.
Yeah. So that was something that HQ allowed all partner apps to hook into if they chose to. The one stipulation about that is you don't go further than finding them and choosing them. Then you need to pop over to the Adventure Lab app.
I was going to ask that. Okay.
Yeah. But it still is something that people really wanted. I mean, I had request after request just for a long time until we were allowed to do that. And so it was really appreciated by users.
I'm curious. I know different. So being the Android guy, I haven't had the chance to use the Cachly with the Adventure Labs function on there.
Brilliant.
Do you have the ability to hide Adventure Labs you've already found, or is there a limitation from the API there?
Currently, there's a limitation on the API, but in Cachly, you can mark them as found, and then within Cachly, it will hide them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice workaround.
So I put in a feature request, and hopefully we can do it through the API, and then people won't have to do that workaround. But yeah, it's currently possible because we had lots of people kind of annoyed that there were smileys on the map, and they wanted to hide those. So yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I
super responsive to user requests and feedback. We've heard great things about it.
and it is really nice to those two games kind of fit hand in hand. And you're driving around finding caches, and you go, "Oh, I forgot to check for adventures. Are there any nearby?" Well, I drove past that one a few miles back. That's a shame. I should, or vice versa. You're doing adventures. You would think, "Oh, there's a cache right here." So
yeah, and something that people keep on asking for is to show the stages of the adventures on the map, but I don't know if that's something that we will be having in the future. I think currently it's just they want you to play in the Adventure Labs app. So we'll see what they do in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, I get why people want that, the game players, but I also get HQ's perspective on it. So
yeah.
And then there's Nick caught in the middle.
Yeah, there was another podcast where Brian Roth was talking about their rationale for why they wanted to keep that and make players go to the Adventure Labs app, and I think he had some good justification for it.
There you go.
It I can see why, but at least having the start point for the adventures on the same map is for me a huge time saver.
Yeah.
Oh, am I up? I thought we.
I think you're up, Land Monkey.
I was waiting for Jim. All right. Okay. Well, the question that I have for you, Nick, also I think got asked by Warren in the chat, and that is there any timeline for the next major release? And I'm going to look for the spoilers. Any hint as to what features might be coming in that?
Yes. So it is just finishing up development. I've been working almost daily on it, really trying to get it done. The last feature has just been finished up, which is dark mode. So I know it's not really a geocaching feature, but I've had it long requested ever since iOS 13 came out. People wanted it in the dark mode. So now that will be one of the bigger features that you'll notice if you use your phone in dark mode. Obviously, some people might not like that, so you can override that within Cachly if you want Cachly in light mode and the rest of your phone in dark mode. And there's also dark maps. So there's Google Maps, Apple Maps that will be dark, as well as the premium offline maps. So I've been working really hard to design those styles for my premium offline maps to look really good in dark mode and work, when you're in the dark and searching for a night cache. So
I
that's
cache
one
in
of
the dark all the time.
Do you?
Like, I don't know.
You need to buy an iPhone then.
Figuratively, not literally.
Got it.
Have you been in the Northwest at 4:00 on any given day in January?
November. Yeah.
Pitch black.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nick. You had some other stuff you're going to share?
The initial question was, when is it going to be released?
Right.
And very soon. So I'm waiting on, a couple of small things that people don't really think about, like updating the app store description and updating the screenshots for the app store, waiting for translation updates to come in from some of my translators, all the boring stuff that people don't necessarily think about that takes time before I can push out a new update. So I'm hoping by the end of this month. So that would be my goal. Yeah.
Well, and some feedback involving that A word, and maybe a question too. Brad says, I switched from Android to iPhone just so I could get and use Cachly. I've never looked back. And his waypoint average planned?
That's been a big discussion in our beta testing Slack that we use. And some people think it's not necessary. Some people think it's necessary. So far, it's not a feature that I'm going to build in. There's other apps that do that for the few times that somebody might need it. But I have been convinced to build other features that I thought weren't needed in the past. So, but not in this version.
Nice. Now, we need to say, and just finding our waypoints out, Nick is going to force me to buy an iPhone, that Cachly, Waymarkly, and Where I Go are only iPhone specific apps. So
that is true.
We'll throw that out there. And just like our $1 million guarantee, if you give us $1 million, we'll talk about anything you want. I believe Nick has $1 million guarantee too. If you give him $1 million, you will get an Android version.
Oh yeah. From anybody. Yeah. That sounds like a great plan. I would be all over that one.
There you go.
I might even shut down the iPhone version,
Oh.
Well, I wouldn't do that.
No.
You
For
mentioned
just
the $1 million plan. No, that wouldn't be kind. Can I mention a few more features of 7.0?
Yes,
okay. Let me look at my list here. So another very much requested feature was like a trackable auto dip list or auto visit list.
Nice.
So that'll be something that's nice and easy to configure, and people can add those and have them logged for each of their caches if they choose.
Wow.
Another feature that I've had requested, again, these are features that users have requested. They're not things that I necessarily thought of. So I really appreciate my users giving me suggestions. And that is templates for live search filters. So some people use them certain ways, and then when they go to a different location, they have to reset those filters and then configure them again. And then it's kind of a pain because they want to save kind of a set of filters and give it a name and then apply it at a certain time. So in this version, you will be able to do that. And they sync through iCloud. So if you have two devices, an iPad and iPhone, you'll get your templates on both your devices, and then you can, vice versa, they'll sync back and forth. So that's kind of been a fun feature that we've been testing out in the background. And hopefully this month, everybody else will be able to see it. So
when you said templates, I just assumed logging templates. So I was kind of nodding like, okay, yeah, I think you already had those, but all right. And then you said for the filters, I thought, oh, that's innovative. I like that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And that's already been a feature for offline lists. You can save templates of different filters, but not for the online filters, which is the online ones are pulling from the API. So you're basically telling the API what kind of caches you want to see. So
nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to look to see if there's anything in the chat. Oops. Gas station tuna, which is a terrible menu item. You should never order it, but a really nice person. Says, will the Adventure Lab icon in Cachly turn to a smiley when it's been completed?
Yes. Yep. You would just have to. You'd have to refresh the screen if you were switching back and forth between those apps. But yeah, once you've completed it, we do get that data from the API.
Yeah, very cool.
Nice.
And there was another question that just came in from Gas Station Tuna.
Yeah. Is there or can there be a way to switch between users? Signing in and signing out is a bummer.
That is not currently possible. It's definitely a feature I've had asked for. Okay. It would take some work, and it's something that I have on my list to think about, but it's not currently built that way. So I know that another geocaching app that shut down had that feature, and so I started getting a bunch of requests for that. But we'll have to see. Not in 7.0. It's not something that's being added.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears.
Okay.
And you've expanded into not a new game, a game that we've all had around for a while, but there hasn't been a good app for it. So, of course, I'm talking about Waymarkly. Waymarkly?
Yes.
Waymarkly. Waymarkly. What drove you to work on a waymarking app?
Probably because every summer before the pandemic, I would go up to Seattle and meet with HQ and have some meetings, go out to lunch, things like that. And Sean Boots from HQ is one of the original guys who kind of came up with the website, and he really loves waymarking, and he was telling me how geocaching was actually a category of waymarking in the original version years and years ago. Yes. So he said, and then they kind of split apart. And so I was like, interesting. Waymarking. I hadn't really heard about that. And so he would tell me about it. It was a couple summers. And I was like, really, is there an API? Maybe we could build an app for this. I think it took about 3 years of us, talking about him. And then I would see him at like an event, like GeoCoin Fest. I saw him. I was like, I got that API ready for me. And he's like, actually, we're working on one. So anyways, finally happened, and it's official partner app. So we connect directly with HQ servers and pull in the waymarks, and that's kind of how it came to be. It's something that I never realized was even around until I started hearing little bits and pieces about it. So it's amazing how many waymarks are all around us, kind of like people finding geocaching for the first time. They didn't realize they were kind of everywhere. So... But there's some really fun locations that you can find. There's some things, like McDonald's or Starbucks that you can, leave those ones if you aren't interested in those kind of things. But I've found some really cool areas around my home location that I never knew about because of waymarking. So
yeah, Ari, who happens to be a lackey, so Sean Boots built waymarking.
yes,
And the website, I assume,
I think so.
or game. I don't think the game. Well, I don't know.
The website is the game, isn't it?
Well,
yeah. He's in charge
Not
of all the
anymore.
engineering stuff, and I think he did originally write the website. I don't know if he came up with a concept for the game, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he built that website.
Okay, well, the website was the game. Now the game is Waymarkly.
There you go.
And speaking of that app, how does it feel compared to Cachely? So if you're used to Cachely, you're going to be right at home there. If you're used to some random other geocaching app that we won't even discuss tonight,
Yeah.
will you be completely lost? Or how you know?
If you're a Cachely user, you will be right at home with just a different color scheme in red.
Okay.
So yeah, so many things are very similar. A lot of the way it functions, there's things like text templates, there's offline, there's filtering, all the things that people love about Cachely are basically in Waymarkly, as well as premium offline maps. If you've purchased those in Cachely, those will just show up automatically in Waymarkly. If you have both of them, you won't have to buy them a separate time. So that's a good thing.
That's nice, yeah.
Yep. There's things like highlighting. People in Cachely love to highlight caches different colors for different reasons. You can do that as well in Waymarkly. So yeah, it's a very similar interface. Yeah, there we go.
there you go. I happen to bring it up here. So you can see you got a list view, a map view.
Both of them include a little podcast host on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes for free.
Well, if you're looking for this one, I'll help you. One's up there I can't reach. You can create lists.
Yep. Very similar to Cachely. Save those offline. Same kind of routing providers. So if people want to use like Waze or a different mapping app to get to there, those are all the same kind of things we have in Cachely.
Let me just randomly
Navigation
choose.
is very similar.
I happen to choose 7-Eleven.
Oh, that could be exciting.
Then we go to gas station Tuna again. It says, I like waymarking, but some of them are completely bunk. Well, this may be one.
Yeah, I think
But,
the app that you use for that is called Google Maps. But
True.
Exactly.
Yeah. No visits on that one.
No.
Oh, you could be the first.
disappointing.
Yeah. My hope was to kind of reinvigorate this game because it seemed like it was kind of, not as many players. So I think that people that are geocachers would enjoy doing it probably at the same time as going out and finding caches. So,
Well, that's very interesting. Can you get these two games together somehow?
you can export GPX files from Waymarkly to Cachely, and then they'll show up as waymarks in Cachely. And so you can save those offline, and then if you view one of them, you can tap the button. Instead of logging it right in Cachely, it'll say log in Waymarkly, pop you back to the log screen in Waymarkly. So they work together in that way. Some people have said, why don't you integrate the two? And that would just be a big bloated app, and I didn't want to do that. So they will be separate.
Yeah. Ari says, oh man, I so wish this were available on Android. Maybe at least a web app, Nick?
No,
Yeah,
web apps don't work very well.
It's a web app if you have an iPhone.
There you go.
We told you guys, $1 million guarantee. You get Nick $1 million, you get it on Android.
Guarantees
there
to
you
work
go.
on it.
Komakino, we're not going to ask your question. I'm just telling you right now, we're not.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
So-
Well, I mean, but
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
that goes to show that you create good quality apps that people really want to use.
That is the goal. That is my ultimate goal, is to make a intuitive app that people really enjoy using. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So we touched on this a little bit with Chris, but in his live demo there, his weatherman impersonation.
Yeah.
But what are some of the key features that you included in Waymarkly that will make playing that game intuitive for folks?
Sure. So there's over 900,000 waymarks in the world. So you basically could look for all those if you chose. Browsing of categories is a big thing in waymarking, where people want to browse the categories and find waymarks by looking at the categories. So you can kind of dive into that. That's one of the tabs at the bottom of the app. It kind of has different things like Cachly has, where there's a logs tab. You can see all your logs. Instead of finds, they're called visits. So people, when they log them, they say, I visited this waymark, and then they usually are required to post a photo. So all those kind of things are similar to Cachly, and saving offline and filtering. Those are all built in. There's live filters. You can hide your finds or your visits, hide your hidden ones. So there's a couple options there. Not as many live filtering options as Cachly has, but hopefully that'll expand as the API expands. And a lot of other features that are similar to Cachly, like I said, highlighting, exporting GPX. You can save pending logs, so you can be out in the middle of the forest and make a visit to a cave or something like that, and then save it just on device. And then when you get back, you can bulk log those to the website. So those are kind of some of the big features. And again, it's very similar to Cachly and somewhat similar to geocaching, except there's no physical containers. So it's just visiting locations. So,
are pictures required as proof?
For most of them. So when you go to log your visit, it'll pop up with the logging requirement, and those are different for every category. And I think there's over 1,000 categories. So they have been written by a category owner. And so most categories, I think, do require a photo. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gas Station Tuna says kind of like virtual caches.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, very similar. But they're not as managed as virtuals were.
Right.
So curated is the term. Now, I know IHAM, did he create a category in waymarking way back when? And a couple of times a week, he gets an email saying somebody's added a waymark in that category that he manages. So they're still out there and they're still being used. So this gives us almost 1 million new points to go adventure to, in case you just happen to have cleared out everything in your area, country, town, whatever it is. Yeah. So it's it gives you something to do. And maybe I need directions to go to the 7-Eleven.
There's an app for that.
Yeah. Waymarkly will get me there. and I get a visit. I wanted to say a fine, but that isn't it. So they're kind of like virtuals. In what other ways does Waymark differ from geocaching.com? Now, is it the same user base, or do you have to go create a profile on Waymarking just like you've done on geocaching.com?
It's the same user. And so you just authenticate with the same geocaching login. Like when you go to log in, it will actually say Geocaching HQ, and you log in through their authentication. But your waymarks don't count on your finds for geocaching. So that part is different. But yeah, your user is the same. You don't need to create a second one. That all is the same. And I think somewhere, I think on the geocaching website, there's some place where you can see all of your stats, and it includes waymarks, but it doesn't add to your total of geocache finds. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I may have spoken too early for IHAM. He says, blame monkey cakes for the ones that I'm on the review teams for.
There you go. Regarding the question about the user base, so thanks for clarifying that. It's sort of one account to rule them all, which is handy to know, Nick.
Right.
Yeah.
Or single sign on, whatever terminology you want to use.
Yeah.
But the game as well, do you find, and in your experience, do you find that it's really kind of the same community? It's the same players, or is there like a unique group who really just play waymarking and don't play geocaching?
I think it's both. When I was developing it and I was trying to interact like on the forums, there's waymarking forums. It seemed like the people on there and the people in like some Facebook groups, they were just waymarkers and didn't cross over. But I think ever since I started promoting it and people have been hearing about it, a lot of geocachers have come over and thought maybe they could do both of them. So hopefully we can get more and more people enjoying both of them so that we can kind of merge the two user bases.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice. Yeah, there's several waymarks right around my house that I haven't gotten. At the start of the pandemic, I think waymarking really was revitalized because it required no touching, right?
True.
Kind of similar to adventures that you can go out, you can find something, take a picture. In some cases, you don't have to get out of the car.
Yeah.
Right. You could stay isolated. And I think that really brought some new breath into waymarking.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can still do that today. I'm thinking that might be a nice thing in these long, cold winter months when it's raining all the time. That, hey, I could go out and, hit a couple of waymarks, never have to get out of the car into the rain.
That's true. Just snap a photo of you out of the window or something. Yeah.
So Ryan says he does both. I'm assuming waymarking and geocaching.
Cool.
John Paul says, hi, John Paul. Good morning to you. He says, I've met quite a lot of hikers who knew about waymarking, but not geocaching.
Interesting.
So there you go. There was one up here. Gas Station Tuna. What about Benchmarkly?
Yeah.
Or is that good for later?
I've had that question. No, that's not something that will be made. There is a lot of benchmarks in waymarking. So people have created those as ones that you can visit. So hopefully someday maybe that whole database of benchmarking the HQ has could be imported or something. I've actually talked to them about that, see if we can somehow do that. But currently, no, there's no plans for that. I think that's even a third tier down in popularity of things that Geocaching HQ created. I don't know how popular it actually is.
Nice. Well, there you go. Well, we'll work up some more LY apps for you.
Okay.
Right. Just give us some time.
Lots of ideas.
Yep. Let's see. Wet Coaster says Canadian benchmarks are in Waymark.
Oh, perfect.
There you go.
Ari says, don't forget the icon grid on your profile as a draw to waymarking. Never underestimate geocachers wanting to fill in grid.
Right.
Yeah, and somebody was telling me that there's often challenge caches where you have to find a bunch of waymarks. So I've had some people want to use the app because they wanted to complete some of those caches.
Right.
Right. Well, okay. Wet Coaster goes Android.
No, that one's off limits.
Okay.
Nick's not going to write a new OS.
Nick,
Except for the $1 million guarantee.
You've got a good sense of humor. We know you're not going to write for Android, but we keep picking. I'm sure we're the only ones. So thanks for indulging us.
I think though isn't the Palm Pilot version coming out on April 1st next year?
I did dabble in developing for BlackBerry at one point before I created Cachely. So that was even worse than Android. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say is a BlackBerry version.
Blackberry.
BlackBerry. Oh.
It's even more secure of an operating system than it used to be.
That's right.
Yes.
That's true.
When's the last time you heard about a exploit in the wild of a BlackBerry?
Never.
Oh, now you do it for the Nokia phones as well.
Someday. Yes.
Okay. I agree. Get it on the Android for those that have no money. What was it? Ari said, let's get this going. I'll kick in the first $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on your
So
way
there
to
you
your
go.
$1 million.
Yeah. All you have to do is crowdfund it.
Yeah.
I actually tried that for an Android version of Cashly, and I think it made like $250. So
So there's not a lot of putting the money where the mouth is what you're saying.
no, it wasn't very successful.
All right.
So what if you went ahead and built it and then charged like say $1,000 or $2,000 for the app? Then you just have a couple of people that have to go out and buy it to fund it.
Yeah, the honest problem is CGO. It would be hard to compete against that because it's free and it's open source. People on Android really love it. So to put in the time and the money to invest in building one, I might not make any money, and in the end, it would need to.
Unless somebody somewhere was to close an API to them or something.
True.
Or
I wonder how that could
prevent
happen.
web scraping or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy talk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, questions from the chat tonight. And folks, if you are listening to this podcast this weekend or later, and you've heard something that Nick said, or you have a question that didn't get raised, and you want to know more about it, feel free to post your question to our social media, and we'll pass it along to Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Caching in the Northwest, and I want to take a moment to thank Landsharks and Gold Country Geotourism, our corporate Denali level sponsors. Landsharks is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online, and they ship orders daily. Now,
Daily. That's right.
if you're watching live, look behind Land Monkey, and you're going to see Gold Country. Now, not all of it, just a very small snippet of it. But
big.
It's an amazing place for geocaching adventures. You can check out exploregoldcountry.com.
Absolutely. And of course, we want to thank our faithful Denali level supporters. That's Landsharks, Gold Country Geotour, Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, and Cashly. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
No problem.
If you want to know more about supporting this show, click the Patreon link on thecachingNW.com, a website.
Like Kev MacD did.
And Limax.
And Kid Vegas 19.
Wino Seattle.
Just finding our way.
Boomer 365.
Ala Robrick.
Wet Coaster.
GSM times 2.
Broncos fan. Poor life.
MC3 Cats. Coming up with a birthday soon.
Sorry, Jim, what was that?
I think there's a birthday coming up soon for for Mr. Katz. Just a rumor I heard.
And of course, we have Peach of Washington, who's listening live tonight.
B. Pendragon.
Logwork.
Greenwords.
Doramore.
Trexer Zero.
Genies.
Subway Mark.
The Geo Travelers.
T. Sayer.
Segehove.
LG 9000.
That was a little disappointing. You normally do that one differently.
Oh, you wanted the robot voice?
No, that's okay. That's what I was expecting. Now, we have Team Noltex.
And Acrodoc.
And Fairwood West.
3 hams and a rose.
And Teus.
Tick Magnet.
Ari, 54321.
Kitty Quest.
The Camp Clan. Happy anniversary.
Donners.
Keats 94.
Sprouter.
CRS 98.
UDAC.
Cannibal.
And I'm scrolling too far. Here we go. Geo Nav Pros.
You talks to rocks.
On a boat.
MNerve.
All right.
And that's the end.
Last week I was the one that scrolled too far, so thanks for taking your turn. Next week it's Land Monkey's turn.
Okay. I'll try to remember to do that.
And Nick, we mentioned you as sponsoring the podcast, and we appreciate you coming on as a guest and just being a great friend of the show. If people wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
There's Cashly.com, there's Waymarkly.com, And there's also the very active Cachly Facebook group. So if you just search for Cachly on Facebook, there's quite a few thousand members there that like to answer questions, and I'm on there all the time too. So
Oh, right. And I think I heard that you have a filter set for anything with the word Android just goes right into the waste bin.
yeah, right in the trash.
Okay.
Smart. Hey, we've got a segment. I can't call it new anymore. I learned that last week.
You got in trouble for that.
Yeah.
I know.
Called him out.
Our 6-month-old segment. It's so old. For listeners to learn a little bit more about your host and our guest tonight. So this segment is At Last. Listeners ask some things. There it is. And you get to answer. If you'd like to ask some things, call into 253-693-TFTC. Didn't sound right coming out. Or email your question to feedback@cachingandw.com. Now, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, which decade do you love the most and why?
I noticed you stopped at the 90s.
We could go to the aughts. Is that what we're calling them?
It's your question, buddy.
The 1790s, the 1760s, the 1450s.
Yeah. That's a decade.
It's up to
You know what? I'll open it up to anyone. Land Monkey, you get to go any decade you want.
Any decade I want. Well, I'll stick with the original 4 that you had in the question: 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s. It's a tough call for me between the middle two, the 70s and the 80s. 70s, the decade that I was in my formative years for, as my Sesame Street years. A lot of good memories from the 70s, moving all over BC and living in great places. The same continued into the 80s, but of course, 80s were my teen years. So I'm gonna lean towards the 80s just because, there's great music, great hair. I don't have it anymore, but
Business in the
hair
front,
bands
party in the
indeed.
back.
that's right.
I'm trying to get my hairdresser to do a mullet, because what better hairstyle is there for doing video meetings all day, right? As long as it's short in the front, it could be long in the back. Nobody's going to see it. No, they won't do it.
Tie that
Wits
ponytail
in?
back.
What about you? What decade do you love?
Great question. It's really hard to choose. When I first heard the question, I didn't see the qualification, and I was thinking the aughts, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a really good time. There were some painful years in there. I lost both my parents during the aughts, but my kids were both little and still thought that I really knew stuff, and there were some life decisions I made or didn't make back then that I would love to go back and redo. So it's like, that is kind of one of those points. I'll go back there and do that again. Maybe do some things different. But
Nick,
how
what about you?
Yeah, Nick.
I was thinking probably the 80s. I was only 7 when those ended, but there's so much good music that came from there that other people don't really appreciate. Yeah, it's just a crazy time with a lot of technology we don't use anymore, like landlines, things like that, answering machines, all this old nostalgic stuff that
Tapes.
Tapes, yeah.
Well, tapes. I didn't ever have 8 tracks, but I had regular
Tapes
tapes
in general, yeah. Lots of cassettes.
where you rewind them with a pencil. Fun things like that. Good memories that people and kids of nowadays are just confused by what we're talking about. So those are fun times.
All my vinyl LPs, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, boy, the 70s were pretty good. It was, very, very formative, and I just remember a lot of fun. The 80s, I graduated high school, went to college. 90s, I got married. So there's good times in each one of these.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough one for me between the 70s and the 90s. And IHAM says, I'll say it again, the 70s were a bad idea the first time.
Gas station tuna. Yeah.
Gas station tuna is the 80s. My mullet was merch, and the music was nice. Just in case you wanted to know, IHAM and Monkey Cakes have been married 31 years as of yesterday.
Congratulations.
So, wow.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
I think you've beaten the odds.
Yeah.
How long does the average marriage last now? Is it even a full year anymore?
Not 31, I'll tell you that much.
Not 31. Keith says the only decade he really remembers is the 2000s, the aughts.
Okay.
Oh, what happened after 2010, Keats?
He doesn't remember.
You know, you hit about 16 and fumes enter your life. Perfumes, exhaust fumes, all those fumes.
UDAC.
Yeah. Well, Chris, if you can't decide between the 70s and 90s, I'm going to tell you just vote for the 90s because that was the decade that you and I met.
Yeah, so I'll go with the 90s then.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
And I appreciate that wit's end. I'm going to officially say on the podcast it's because that's when I met my wife. But
She far outranks me, but you were vacillating between the two. And so if there's just one tiny thing that might tip the scales over, then, and who knows, listeners of the podcast might make that scale tip the other way because of you and I meeting in the 90s. But we won't post those comments if they do. So
that's right. They'll go right into the trash bin.
Yeah, which is, as Gas Station Tuna says, is trashly.
Oh, the automatic trash filter, Trashly.
Yes,
I like it.
Yeah. Good idea.
Oh, folks, thank you for taking this time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep the quality shows coming. If you like the show, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. And if you didn't like the show, tell us what you want us to talk about. In either case, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. And of course, you can give us a thumbs up and a review. Call 253-693-TFTC. Leave us a comment, ask us a question, or help us find Rose, that human Waymark, any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us directly at feedback@cachingnw.com. And join us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. The show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2021 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
the after show.
Almost didn't get that one out in time.
Yeah. You really ran through that, yeah. I was going to say, if Rose the Waymark is listening to the podcast, definitely she should call in to 253-693-TFTC, and there you go.
Yeah.
What year did you say that was? That you met her?
Hold,
a long time
I will
ago.
look it up.
What was the first come on.
The maze. The GPS maze.
GPS maze, yes.
2008.
Could be.
Trying to think, was it before the GeoWoodstock incarnation?
Yes.
Pretty sure, yeah.
How come in all these tabs I don't have geocaching open?
Because you have Cache on your phone.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Why would I ever need to install anything
Zing.
else?
That was very quick, Nick. It was like that one was served up.
Yep.
Okay, so here's stats.
It's gripping audio here.
It really is.
Yes. Ryan in the chat says it's so much better to watch this in the Pacific time zone, and we agree. Absolutely.
yes,
We're glad
of
you're here to
course.
watch it.
So glad you're here, yeah.
Oh, look at this. Gas Station Tuna. I finally pulled the trigger. I'm officially a patron.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Hey, right here. Thank you very
That's
much.
right. By all means. Round of snaps.
Ooh. I didn't know we could do that. Wet Coaster likes the 80s the best. Met my wife, got married, had our 2 daughters.
Nice.
I am since 31 years, and she still hasn't throttled me in my sleep.
Well, at least
And-
not completely to the point of suffocation. Maybe just brought you to the brink and then let you come back.
That's right. And we both met IHAM. He deserves it. So that's just grace right there.
Yeah, well, knowing you guys as I do, I think we all pretty much deserve it from time to time.
Yeah. Pretty much most of the time for me, but yeah.
Okay. I gave up looking. It's got to be around 2008.
All right.
Well, here's the 2009 Lackey Geocoin
There you go.
that I had Jeremy sign at the event.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So 2009.
All right.
How do you like that for a reference, right? That doesn't. You've got a computer here, web connected with all these stats, and I pull out a coin that somebody signed.
Well, it's nice because it also gave you an opportunity to name drop. So
Yeah.
Right.
I saw Brian's name on there too.
You noticed that too, did you?
I had him sign it afterwards.
Okay.
But
Not as
you know what?
cool.
Why haven't you signed
oh yeah,
it?
and that Roth guy signed it too.
Yeah, that Roth guy.
Oh, him, yeah.
I was trying to get Jeremy to sign my coin, and this other guy's like, "Oh, okay,
I'll take that and sign it.
dude."
It wasn't my idea. Was it a guy in front of us or a couple in front of us? Would you sign the coin? It's like, I have one of those coins. I just got it. Oh, this would be
It's a cool idea.
That's a great idea. So I'm not going to take credit for it. I don't think it was Rose, but I don't know who was in front of us that
Rose is going to call in and take credit for it.
she should.
All right.
Gas Station Tuna is looking for a Lackey coin from 2016, my first year of caching. Trying to get them all since then.
Ooh,
What was that
challenging.
one? I have several, but I don't know if I have them all. Let's see. What's this one?
I don't know if I have any. I think I have one. I have the first one that came out that looked like a book. I have no idea what year that is.
Like this one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a couple years ago.
That's about my estimation, Nick.
I don't see a year on it.
It's a couple of years ago, Chris. Nick told us.
Oh, okay.
I have a giant drawer of trackables. That's how I like to keep them, just in a big drawer.
Isn't that the truth?
Same here.
It's starting to get pretty heavy though when I pull it out.
Yeah, right. The wheels
Okay,
come off. Yeah.
But that's nothing like this coin. That's nearly
That one
invisible.
looks strange. Yeah, nearly invisible.
It's magic.
Special
You can
edition.
see through it.
It's a special podcast edition.
Yeah. It's only
Okay.
one of those.
Here's the 2010 Lackey coin. I can tell that one
Oh, that's cool.
because they put 2010 really big on it.
And
So
it's a
it goes up
discus.
and you can see it. But I can't come up with any others, and this makes just fascinating
Yeah, it's great audio. Yeah.
audio. Okay, so here's the 2011 Lackey coin,
Shiny.
isn't it? And again, for those on the radio, it's gold and shiny. Those on the radio.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
How old are you?
I don't know.
It's not the 70s anymore.
Ryan believes the 16 is a book.
2016. There you go.
eBay is lacking.
It's not helping gas station tuna.
Keats, this is what I've been waiting for. No, it's not. It's close.
No.
Because, I was wondering what Keats 94's geocaching adventure was going to be. That was going to be
He
released
posted
tomorrow.
earlier that he doesn't have one for this Friday.
What?
Gasp. I know. He begged for forgiveness.
Keats.
Meanwhile, Keats is heading down to Victoria
I'm
for the
looking at
weekend
you
to
right
check
now.
out the new Land Shark store and find a few caches. So enjoy your visit over there, Keats.
Yes. Enjoy your visit. UDAC says, I hope it cooled down in the Pacific Northwest. Yes. Yes, it has.
Relatively speaking, yes.
Wow.
Finally.
We hit 108. Wits End, what did you say? You had 110 in the car?
110 here on my dashboard thermometer.
Jeez.
We had 111.
I mean,
Always got to outdo us by one. Always got to
Sorry.
one up us.
he's a little more souther than we are.
Yeah.
Southly.
Closer to the sun.
Oh, okay, folks. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, get out and find some waymarks in the Northwest.